Welcome to Sales and Marketing Talk Show. Today I have Rand Fishkin with me, and we are going to discuss understanding your audience and how you can do better marketing based on that one. Welcome, Rand. How are you?
Good, Samali. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. When I was preparing to this episode, I found out that you are a huge pasta lover, and I must ask you because I used to be a chef before coming to sales. I worked 3 years in different kind of restaurants. So what's your favorite pasta?
Oh my gosh. It's tough. I just made pesto from scratch, and that was pretty great. I bought like one of those giant Italian mortar and pestles, with the marble, and it's a lot of work, but it's also really tasty. But my favorite, gosh, maybe carbonara. That's got to be up there. As long as you nail the texture, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of restaurants did you work in?
I work in all kind of restaurants, from fast food to super fine dining, everything between there.
Wow.
lot of pasta. I was actually working in this Finnish pizza place called Napoli. It's the most popular pizzeria here in Finland. So I did a lot of pizza, a lot of pasta there. So
I bet. Yeah, that sounds exciting. Well, sometime I'll have to come out and you can cook for me.
yeah, for sure. You're always welcome. But hey, back to business. I think many people know you from writing your book, Lost and Founder. I actually have it here. I have read part of that one, but I must finish it after this interview. And I think many know you from founding the company called Moz, and now you're working in SparkToro. But can you open up a bit, like your background, and especially how did you become like excited about understanding audiences? Like why those are super important for companies to understand their audience, and how did you get excited about that topic?
Yeah. So Samuli, you mentioned that I started this company Moz. Moz is in the SEO software space, so helping people rank better in Google and figure out which keywords to use and all that kind of stuff. And SEO and search marketing more broadly still have a tremendous amount of opportunity, but it is getting way more competitive. Every year, the last 10 years, there's 10 new entrants in every space. Every keyword you want to rank for, you're going to have a much tougher time than you did 10 or 15 years ago. And Google themselves is competing for more and more of the pie, right? I mean, just what was it, yesterday at Google I/O, they announced, we're going to be able to solve way more queries and present, instant answers right in the results. So you don't have to click on anybody else's website. And that, maybe that is fun for consumers, but it's really not fun for publishers and business owners and folks like you and I, right, who create things for the web and hope that we can earn traffic to them. So my journey into audience research was around trying to help businesses get traffic from anywhere but Google, right? If you don't just want to throw money at Google and Facebook, what you have to do is figure out where your audiences pay attention to, what, to whom, how, what their topics of interest are, what hashtags they're following, people they're following on social media, publications they read and subscribe to, email newsletters, LinkedIn lives that they join, right? All that kind of stuff. And if you don't know that, you can't effectively do marketing in all those places. But if you want to figure it out, how did you do that, right? Like before SparkToro, you surveyed them or you interviewed them, you sort of ask on your website, like, hey, how did you find us? And then try and reverse engineer. So that was really the start of this process for me, is realizing how massive a problem this is, and how it's a problem that doesn't even have a name. Like when we ask people, hey, Samali, like when you help people figure out where their audiences are, what they pay attention to, what do you call that? Nobody had a name for it. It's so weird. So we called it audience intelligence, and that is what got us excited about building SparkToro, and essentially the fact that there's so much public information on social media today. So many people like you and I put our public profiles up, and you can visit our pages and publicly see what we follow and read and watch and listen to and share and how we describe ourselves and blah, 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 blah. So you can get that data, but you have to do it. You would have to do it manually or build your own crawler. And so SparkToro is just Casey and I saying, let's just build that for the entire internet.
That's super cool tool. I tried that one a bit, even though I'm not a marketer, but still I found it like super cool to found that kind of information. And yeah, for sure, like everyone trying to rank on Google, it's super hard.
Well, and if you think about like you create a show, right? You create this wonderful show. You do episodes every week, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So every week you're trying to attract an audience that cares about sales and marketing, that's trying to upgrade their business, right? And so you're looking for these, people who use words like sales in their bio, or people who follow Salesforce on social, or people who use the hashtag, sales development or something like that, right? And so you're attempting to grow your audience. And if you find people who reach, a lot of like podcasters, for example, use SparkToro to find folks who would be good guests because they are paid attention to that by that audience. And so then you invite those guests, suddenly magic happens, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a great strategy. And I think even though it's, of course, super important to have people who have a lot of knowledge in your podcast and in your blog and so on, but then, of course, at the same time, when you found out the people who had a big following and people know them, it's, of course, easier to reach the audience for sure.
Yeah. And my sense is there's like this, there's the classic like influencer marketing world, which never made good sense to me, right? Because essentially influencer marketing has this philosophy of we just want to find the people with the most followers, right? Yeah. And so it's mostly like, oh, let's find this half-naked person on Instagram with a six-pack abs and like is big muscles or whatever, and he poses on beaches, and you want to have that person? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, sure, they have 1 million followers or whatever, they're an actor or something, but that's not relevant to your sales and marketing audience, right? What you want to find is not the person with the most followers. You want to find the person who is paid attention to most by your audience, right? What your audience reads, listens to, watches, follows, subscribes to, that's who you want to get on the show. So it's that relevance piece.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you think, like now when internet is like full of content, everyone is doing podcasts, everyone is doing webinars, everyone is producing blog articles, like full of content. And I actually found out your tweet, I think it was from 2015, saying that the best way to sell something, don't sell anything, earn the awareness, respect, and trust of those who might buy. Do you think, does this still work? Because everyone is trying to do this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly it is a competitive field, but if you can get people to know who you are, like you, trust you, come to you for information before you try and sell them anything, or before they connect you with essentially trying to directly market to them, that is a very effective tactic. This is something that I do a lot of, right? Rather than, go out and try and sell SparkToro, I essentially go out and try and help people do better marketing. And my hope is if I help a lot of people, they'll sort of say, oh, that Rand guy had a really good idea. I should go read his blog. I should go subscribe to his email newsletter. I should go follow him. Oh, and okay, he makes this product SparkToro. And what does that do? Oh, it's that pull versus push style of sales and marketing. And it's always been very effective for me. I know it is not for everyone. And some sales folks, they're very effective at that push marketing. But my position is the best way for me to sell something, at least, is to not sell anything.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think on that one? For example, you have super well-known personal brand like within the target audience that SparkToro is going after. What do you think if you would have started SparkToro without having the background as Moz, without having all the
Yeah.
following that you currently have on your social? How would you approach the situation if you was start from from scratch?
Yeah, I think I would do exactly what I did with Moz, right? I like that playbook of sort of, when I started Moz, I had no network, no one knew who I was. I I basically built that, whatever you want to call it. So I basically built my expertise by getting good at SEO and learning about it, and then being able to translate those learnings into open, free sharing of, hey, here's how to do this. I tried this, it didn't work. I tried this other thing, it did work for me. Maybe your experiences are different. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, that kind of thing. Interacting with people and engaging with them. I started Moz pre-social media, so I think in some ways it would actually be easier to reach my audience today because the presence of social just allows for a lot of visibility if you understand the fundamental core of what makes people share and resonate and connect with content online. And that is essentially, it is not like, similarly, my sense is there's a lot of marketers, a lot of creators, a lot of sales folks out there who believe that if they create something very high quality or really, really good or better than anything else in their field, that people will share it, that it will get amplification. And that is not true. No one thinks to themselves, oh, this is really good, I should share it. What they think is, this made me feel this emotional way. This backs up something I believe. This reinforces something about my identity. This makes me angry. This makes me sad. This makes me joyful. Then I'm going to share. Emotions are the reasons we share, not, oh, this is high quality. Look at this high quality content. This blog post is quite high quality. I should send it to my friend. No, right? So you have to get kind of into that mental model, that right mental model, and then you can earn a lot of awareness and trust and an audience.
Yeah, and I can totally agree on that one. If I think like what kind of things I'm sharing with my colleagues or with my friends, it always comes from there for sure. But then, of course, one super important thing is that even though I would do something like once that would be that probably wouldn't be bringing the growth to the business. So it should be done like basically all the time for years to years, basically.
Yeah, you're kind of trying to build like a flywheel, right? You want to have a repeatable pattern, whatever it is. Every week I have a guest on my podcast, and every week I grow my subscribers a little bit. A few more people subscribe to the podcast, and then next week I have more listeners, and if I have a really good guest, maybe they share it, and so I get some more listeners. And now every time I'm producing a podcast, it's more valuable than it was the week before. So you're doing the same amount of work, but you're getting greater output. That's the kind of marketing that you want to be doing no matter what. And frustratingly, you really can't do that with Google and Facebook ads, right? Because every dollar you're throwing at them produces, essentially the same result. Or if more competition comes in, or Google and Facebook reduce ad reach, right? It's less. You can try and optimize your ads and learn from them to try and keep up, but that is a tough battle to win, as opposed to, a content marketing strategy or a social media marketing strategy, an email marketing strategy, digital PR, even SEO, right? Like you can build those flywheels that scale with decreasing friction.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, in my case, this is episode number 69 that I'm doing currently.
Wow.
So it's been like a long way, but it's getting there. It's getting there. But I feel like should I end like a couple of times in the way? But now it's like paying off finally.
Yeah, right. Like you start to build momentum. You can feel it. I had the same experience with Moz, both with the blog and with my video series, Whiteboard Friday. There, the first 2 years of blogging, I was blogging 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Didn't really do much. Did not have much return. but it was slowly getting like a few dozen, and maybe a year in, a couple hundred subscribers, and then like 2 years in, 400 or 500, and then 4 years in, like 5,000.
Yeah.
Right. And there wasn't some big, whatever mountain where it suddenly spiked up. It was just, the slow and steady growth over time, ticking up. And the same thing has been true for SparkToro, where essentially, it's sort of a slow, steady process of earning subscribers and earning new users and earning customers, but it compounds over time.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you think? You mentioned earlier that like the one main reason for building SparkToro is that there wasn't a tool similar to that one. And of course, in the past, you were able to do that basically like manually doing some kind of customer research and so on. But
Yeah.
what do you think? Should companies still be doing some kind of customer research, talking with their clients, or is there like tools that can totally replace that one? Or do you think that there should be some of those still?
Yeah, I think it's very risky to try and use tool-based data to replace customer surveys and interviews, right? So one of the things that I try and do every single day, I talk over email and sometimes over video and those kinds of things with at least a few SparkToro customers, and so does Casey, my co-founder, who runs the engineering and technical side. And in my opinion, that is crucial, right? It really helps us get a sense for, these are people's problems, their frustrations, this is how they're using it. We learn a ton about how they're applying the data, and it gives us insight and intuition. Now, it's not data at scale, right? These are anecdotal examples. So you have to be careful not to over focus on one person, right? Oh, I had a call with this lead and they said X, and so we should change our whole strategy. Don't do that. But maybe they'll give you an idea, and that idea you can take and put into, maybe a survey, or you can experiment with it, and you can see if lots more people resonate with that idea. And if they do, then you can roll it out. So we get a lot of those sort of intuition and insight from those individual conversations. And then we use, tools like surveys and testing and experimentation and conversion rate testing and those kinds of things to figure out if this stuff really works and resonates. But it's I don't think you can take away any of the three processes, right? So the three things I think about customer research are essentially data at scale gathered implicitly from behavioral use, right? So this would be like your Google Analytics or a SparkToro, right? Which is gathering data from kind of the social web, or keyword research data if you're doing SEO, right? So that kind of, and then there's survey data where you have specific questions that you might say like, hey, I want to know this, and these 4 answers from all of my customers, or a representative sample set. And then there's interviews where you're having one-on-one conversations like you and I are. I don't think you can replace any of those with any of the others.
Yeah, I agree on that one for sure. And I think they kind of, like, as you said, they kind of complement each other. And then from there, you can really figure out what you should be testing next, because I've heard that one happening as well, that we do a couple of customer research and then we change everything in our product, or we change everything on our marketing, or the other one that I've heard is that people read some book, for example, this one or someone else, and then they're like, oh yeah, we should change our company strategy based on this one. So I wouldn't be doing that one, but really like trying to figure out what are the small things that we could test easily, and if they work, then maybe scale them on a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is great to be inspired by, whatever, a book or someone else's experience, or a conversation you have, or an interview, or whatever. Inspiration can come from anywhere, and that's wonderful. But don't make a large scale change without validating that your intuition and your idea from this one source is going to work for a lot of folks, especially if you have a sizable customer base. Maybe if you're just starting out, 1 or 2 people, whatever, but it can be risky. And I definitely think especially in sort of tech entrepreneurship world, a lot of us get egotistical. We get cocky, where we start to believe, if we have a little bit of success. I had a little bit of success at Moz, sort of rolling into tens of millions of dollars and raising a bunch of venture money. And I had this belief that my ideas must be great, right? And so I didn't need to listen to anybody else. I could just go and do what I thought was the right thing. And that is when you really fall off the deep end and get into trouble. So that's where I would caution a lot of other entrepreneurs. And I mean, yeah, you can read about that in Lost and Founder. I think a bunch of the middle chapters are basically like, here's how Rand became dumb, because he started to believe his own BS.
Yeah. But if we think like there was basically the 3 points of like gathering different kind of customer insights. So the data, the like questionnaires or so, and then like the one-to-one discussions. But what do you think, like after like doing all of that, what are the like main things that companies should be understanding about their audience based on that one? And what do you think, what are the most like common mistakes companies are doing? I think we mentioned that the one already, doing a lot of changes based on like one interview or so, but other than that.
Yeah, this is going to be weird. I don't love the persona model. Right. So a lot of companies have this idea like, oh, there's things we need to know about our customers and our audience. And so let's build personas and, collect all this data and try and, I don't know, formulate some archetypical avatar of our customers. Like here's, I don't know, sales Sally and marketing Matthew and, blah, blah, blah. Like we're going to, they have, marketing Matthew has 2.2 children and a dog. And lives in the suburbs and commutes 35 minutes to work. What? Why are you doing that? Like that, you don't need that information. The way I really like it is, instead of saying every company needs to understand all of these attributes about their audience and their customers, I throw out that entire idea. And instead, my goal with customer research, audience research, market research is essentially to say, what problems do we have and what do we need to solve? And then what information do we need to solve that problem? Let's go get that data to solve that problem. So I don't need to know a whole lot of demographics and the gender breakdown and age range breakdown and education level breakdown and how many dogs and cats and children you have. I don't need any of that, right? I do need to know, what hashtags do you use on LinkedIn and Twitter, which are big marketing sources for me, because I need to follow those hashtags. I need to be employing them. I need to be paying attention to what's being used. I can probably target some ads at those. That's a real question that I really need answers to, because I can make valuable changes that will move the needle on the business. Demographics, I don't care. So I think this model has been referred to by other folks as the jobs to be done, right? So you essentially you have jobs that you need doing, and you need information to solve those problems. That's what every company should gather. And it's going to be different for every company because your needs are different, and that's okay. So don't take a persona model and just plug in your numbers and then assume that your marketing team or your sales team can go be more effective with that. They can't. Find out where they're struggling. What's their problem? Is it social ad targeting? Is it they're not, you're not getting content out, the content isn't resonating with people? Where is the funnel experiencing problems? Go solve for those.
Yeah, exactly. We are using jobs to be done with our customers, and that really helps customers to do right kind of marketing, rather than like focusing on exactly for person or gender or the age or where they are living or that kind of information. I think that really doesn't help on marketing at all.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're a big consumer product goods company and I don't know, you're selling Snickers or Oreo or Nike to people, okay, maybe there's some use case for demographic persona data there, but because you sell to everyone. There's no one's not your customer target. But once you get into B2B, once you get into sales-led stuff, once you get into high-ticket items or niches, I don't think that kind of marketing works very well.
Yeah, exactly. I read one of your blog posts about like why why everyone is hating marketing, and I think one of the main reasons for that one is actually the audiences. So if we are writing wrong stuff for wrong people, or it's not adding any value, or so, I think that's the main reason many of us hates marketing. For example, now when we are recording this episode, I have my email open on the other tab, and it just popped that, hey, there's some new marketing, and I'm like, oh no. So what do you think, what is the main reason why why most of the people hates marketing, and how companies can change that one, that like the potential customers would feel like this isn't marketing, this is adding value, this is cool, this is great?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, I don't think there's any way we're going to change the perception of marketing in the broader world. People don't like feeling interrupted and sold to and pushed and manipulated. And unfortunately, there's plenty of marketing that does that. And I don't think any marketer who is worried about marketing's perception is doing that stuff. But the ones who are doing it don't care. Like they're not gonna be watching this show and be like, oh yeah, Rand and Simile said we should do these things. Well, I should change my ways. I'm gonna stop sending email spam. It's never gonna happen. Like those people aren't watching and they don't care, and they're not gonna change. So I think instead, right, it's just recognition that human beings' brains are very tired of marketing, that we experience thousands of pieces of marketing in a given day, digitally and offline. And so if you want to be an effective marketer, you need to earn people's awareness, trust, likability. You need to build a relationship that is based on a real connection, and then you can do your job more effectively. Right? Brands that I have a real connection to, that I like and I know and I've heard of and I trust, I will, when their advertising interrupts my whatever visit to Reddit or my Google search, it doesn't feel like an interruption. It doesn't feel bad. It feels like, oh yeah, great, okay, cool. Whatever it is. Profitwell. I love Profitwell. We use it all the time. Oh, they've got an ad on LinkedIn. Yeah, what does it say? I might read it. Oh, they've got a new service. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out. It doesn't feel like advertising to me, right? It just feels like, hey, that's a company that I know and like and use. I trust them. I want to see what they're up to. That's the type of thing you're going for. Most people, don't mind a lot of the advertising that they receive. It just sort of washes over them. And then there's some ads that they like, but we remember the ones we hate. Right? We don't remember who it was, but we'll remember that visceral negative experience and then associate that with marketing in general and be like, I hate marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think it's great example. And for example, right now, this is marketing for sure. You are marketing SparkToro. I'm marketing our growth marketing agency. And even though it doesn't feel like marketing, it's still, I think, like everything people do, it's marketing. But what do you think, for example, on different companies, there is like a lot of well-known brand, for example, Profitwell or Drift. They have like great company brands, but there is also like people behind those brands who are like giving the faces to those. How do you think like the balance between like personal brand and company brands, and when it comes, for example, seeing content on LinkedIn or Twitter or consuming content in general?
I think in B2B, especially in sort of the closely connected world of tech niches, it can be very helpful to have, even if that person doesn't have much of a personal brand, to just have some awareness that like, oh, I know whatever, the CEO and founder, or I know of that person, or I've heard good things about them. Someone in my network met them at an event, right? They've done a few podcasts I could listen to. Like I get the sense this is a real person I know and can trust. I think that's pretty helpful, right? So there are companies where, founder and leadership are just entirely invisible.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, right? Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes the brand does the marketing for them, but I tend to find that when we have a little bit of humanity there, even when we just know of the person, it does help. You know, you got to be careful too, right? You can really step on some mines if you screw that up. I mean, I think was it a couple weeks ago, right? Basecamp lost a third of their staff and a ton of their customers and the goodwill of like an entire industry. Bill Gates's reputation in the last couple of weeks has just tanked, just been destroyed. I think because of a variety of things that are sort of snowballing and coming out due to his divorce. And man, I mean, the perception of him that I had a year ago is completely different from the one that I have today. And I don't know, probably more complete and more accurate. And that, you know, that probably sucks for his foundation. I suspect he's going to find it much more difficult to influence public policy from here on out. So, you know, you got to live up to the values and the expectations that you create over time.
Yeah, exactly. So there's for sure like a lot of potential, but also like the potential risk at the same time for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you create perception of yourself one way and then you behave a different way, you really break that trust, right? Trust is, oh, I know, you know, you and I know each other because we've done this podcast together. We've had a few emails and we've behaved in a certain way. And then, you know, it's the start of a relationship, and maybe we'll meet each other at a conference someday. Maybe I'll be in Finland someday, right? And whatever, you make me a pizza and like our relationship grows and deepens. This sounds lovely to me. But if one of us behaves in a way that runs counter to the relationship we've been building, it really spoils the whole thing, right? It ruins the way we think about each other, and you know, probably our connection dies. And that is true at scale for brands too. So as you're building up your personal brand or your reputation and your company's brand, what I just encourage you to do is represent yourself honestly. Yeah. Whoever you are, right? There's a crowd and an audience for you. Just don't try to be something you're not. Don't present yourself as one thing but then secretly behind the scenes you're another. That is the kind of marketing people hate. And it's really difficult mentally and emotionally to maintain that.
Yeah, I agree on that one totally. And for example, as a like sales guy, if I would be a totally different person on LinkedIn, for example, and then I would meet potential clients and I would be different, it would be like breaking the trust and probably not getting any leads or deals. So it's super important. Great. But hey, then on every episode I'm doing, I have a question from my previous guest. And in the last episode, I was discussing actually with my colleague Audrey about creating a content marketing strategy. And when I told Audrey that you are coming next, Audrey was like, yay, because she's been using both Moz and SparkToro in the past. And when Audrey asked this question, I didn't understand it straight away, but now I understand that one as well. And the question was that, like, how can you use SparkToro or similar tool to identify who your potential customers versus your potential amplifiers are after you have identified like your ICP? And before answering this question, could you open up as well, what does amplifiers mean? Because I think that might be like a new term for a lot of people, including me.
Right. Sure, yeah. So when you produce whatever content of any kind, right? So, you know, this LinkedIn Live episode, you know, gets recorded and then hopefully shared out, right? Maybe you create a post. Maybe you've got an email newsletter or a podcast or a blog, or you're doing, you know, PR and you've got news pitches, whatever it is, right, that you're creating. There's these different groups of people who you want to see your content. One of them is people who might buy from you, right? People who are customers for your company. They might buy your service or your product. That's one audience. And then there's people who will help your message, help your content reach more people, right? Reach more of that audience who might buy from you. And those are amplifiers. They can potentially amplify your content. They have whatever followings and influence and an audience of their own. And some of the people in their audience might be the ones who might be interested in your product. So in my case, right, you and this podcast are probably an amplifier, not a potential customer. I mean, I guess maybe you might buy or use SparkToro, sure, but more likely you're a potential amplifier. You're someone who would have me on your show, and we would talk about sales and marketing and content and social and all this stuff and audience research, right? Amplifiers gravitate towards different things than customers do. And so when you are creating for anyone, you need to decide which audience you're trying to reach. If you are creating stuff exclusively for your customers, it's probably not going to help you earn that amplification and turn that flywheel and build your audience. And if you're creating stuff for amplifiers, it is probably helping you grow your audience, but it's probably not converting them to customers right now. And this is okay. You want both of those things. Both of those are valuable. Targeting both those audiences matters, but you need to make the choice, the conscious choice when you strategically create something, whatever kind of stuff you are creating. Because otherwise, if you try and reach both or you don't even think about it, you're much less likely to have success. So to your colleague Audrey's question around SparkToro, SparkToro will not show you, it will show you the behavior of your potential customers, including the sources of influence they pay attention to. But it will not list specifically, for privacy reasons, it won't list who those potential customers are. So if you say, oh, my customers are chief financial officers in Canada. Okay, great. You can go, my audience uses these keywords in their bio, CFO, add location Canada in SparkToro, hit enter. Okay, we have 412 CFOs in Canada, and here's what they listen to and read and watch, subscribe to, follow, etc. But we'll never show you a list of who those 412 people are because of the privacy stuff. So yes, we can definitely help you identify hashtags they use and what they talk about online and what they follow, a lot of their potential amplifiers, right? Or your potential amplifiers to reach them, but not the list of people themselves.
That was super interesting. A lot of new things for me as well. Thank you. But hey, then you have the chance to ask a question from my next guest.
Ooh, yeah, fun. Who's your next guest?
My next guest is Tyler Lessard, VP of Marketing from Vidyard.
Yeah.
And we are discussing on how to use videos in sales. And I know that you love to use videos in your sales and marketing for sure. That was the reason why I emailed you in the
I just got this fancy new camera. I don't know if you can see it. Wait here, let me get I'll show you. I have this crazy setup now. Oh, okay. So this is my classic webcam, right? And I don't look nearly as fancy, but I have this. Oh, look at this! Look at this beast of a camera that's set up here, and really helps get me going. So yeah, basically, I have been doing a ton of stuff, and in fact, have used Vidyard for a few video interviews and all that kind of stuff. So very exciting that Tyler's on. Let's see. I think if I could ask him a question, I would love to know. When Vidyard's customers and clients have used their platform to create content, what are the top few, maybe top 3 or top 5 platforms and tactics where they have had success earning amplification, earning awareness, getting new subscribers? I'd be really curious because I do a lot of video. Obviously, YouTube is reasonably good. I do some social sharing, but I'd love to hear from him what's gone well for them.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I will ask that one from Tyler. And lastly, I want to ask from you, since we have been talking a lot about audiences, who is the ideal customer like. Your book, Lost and Founder. Who is the ICP for this book? Who should read it?
Ooh, what's ICP?
Ideal customer profile.
Ideal customer profile. Okay, got it. Right. You can tell I'm not in sales world. I don't know. I don't know all the acronyms. So, I mean, Lost and Founder, I wrote it primarily for folks in early stage companies. So essentially, if you're joining a startup or a scale up, if you are a startup founder, you're thinking about starting a company, it can probably save you a lot of pain, a lot of heartache. And many of the stories in there will resonate. I try to do this thing where I don't like books that are only about one topic. I feel like you can read the Wikipedia summary and get 99% of the value, which is a lot of business books. But so Lost and Founder is essentially like each chapter is essentially a topic of its own, and I'll tell a story, and then I'll have some data and research and some examples from other companies in there as well, and just trying to not give any simple answers, but share the full range of why a topic is complex and the underlying incentives and motivations, and prepare you for this challenge that you might encounter.
Yeah, sounds good. And based on the few pages that I have read, it's a lot of value there. So I would recommend for a read. But hey, thank you so much for joining me, Rand. Thank you for everyone listening. If you like this one, please share it with your friends and colleagues on social and tag me and Rand on the post. And have a great week, everyone. And bye-bye.
Take care.